Hello everybody, welcome to our day early comics review video. I'm Jason.
I'm Andy.
And we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So every Tuesday after we're done bagging and boarding and sorting through all the comics, we divide up the ones we think people want to hear the most about. We sit around for hours on end reading them, taking notes, figuring out what's going on and which one first appearance is, trying to summarize what these are about. And then we record this video for all of you where we tell you about the comics. So I guess the first thing to say is this is a very big week.
Yes, we're gonna be talking about a few pretty in depth, but there's gonna be a lot that we're just gonna flash and be like, this came out, because there's so much.
We're gonna have to.
Yeah.
On top of that, tomorrow is local comic shop day. So make sure to visit your local comic store or order from whatever store you order from, because there's a lot of exclusive books. We're going to show all of those at the end. So without further ado, what's the first book you're going over, Andy?
First book is probably one of the biggest Marvels had planned for the year. This is Hulk.
Finally.
Number one.
Much delayed.
I know. It feel like I usually am pretty good keeping up on when stuff comes out. And every week I come in and be like, is this the week Hulk comes out?
Yeah.
So yeah, this has been delayed roughly about a month or so, just pushed back week by week. But it's finally here. I've been really excited about this because this is by Donny Cates. So, of course, his run on Venom ended just recently. And Ryan Ottley, who people may know from Invincible and from his brief stint on Amazing Spider-Man, coming together to, I would say, I don't know if I would say redefine Hulk, but this is definitely a brand new territory for Hulk.
Different take on Hulk than I've seen. Like,
yeah,
vastly different.
For sure. So it is really cool. And I will say this first issue is definitely setting you up for the crazy way Hulk is in this book. So we're not getting a whole lot of motivation in this. But essentially, the best way I could say this is Bruce Banner might be the enemy in this. He might be the bad guy. Because of what happened in the previous Immortal Hulk series. It does make some... you don't have to have read that, but you just know that he's been through a lot. And he's kind of off his rocker. And he has some mission. We don't quite know what that mission is. But he has found a way to take Hulk and break his mind up into multiple parts. So we have the Bruce Banner part. And that is the one who is piloting what he now calls Spaceship Hulk. Hulk is now his Voltron, his Gundam, whatever you want to call it, that he is piloting from inside his mind. And we see the representation of this mind as what Bruce Banner comes across very like Captain Kirk. Like he like leans in his piloting chair and he has discussions with other people from his memories and everything in this captain's quarters, but it's more of a representation of what's going on. And he is controlling the Hulk, even so much as has switches and levers, and you find out what those levers do and how he has a new way of powering Hulk up to new levels of craziness. We do get an appearance by the Avengers and kind of what they think of this, which they are, like usual, pretty horrified about what's going on with Hulk. It gives me a little bit of the feel of the beginning of Planet Hulk, where they basically had the discussion of like, he's really dangerous to have around. And especially now, Hulk is, and Banner is very unpredictable. So I won't give away some of the bigger things that happen in it. There's some really cool stuff, especially involving how he powers up Hulk, what Hulk's plans or what Banner's plans may actually be. There's some nods to stuff that we saw in King in Black, which is really cool, that hasn't been forgotten. Donny Cates is still playing off a lot of big things that happen in that. But I don't even think this was on the cover originally, but at the bottom it says, what if the Hulk exists to protect us from Banner? And that is a great way to put this. There's some teases to how Hulk may come back to his, personality being merged with Banner's, but you'll have to read it to see it. I feel like it's going to be a while before we see anything with that, just because this whole new concept of spaceship or starship Hulk is a whole new world to explore.
Yeah, they're going to want to explore that a lot more first.
So this is, I think this is great because we had Immortal Hulk, and there's no way this could have, you can't just do that again. They were like, we've got to take this a completely new direction that benefits the creative team on it. So there is a lot of action. There is a great fight between Hulk and Hulkbuster Iron Man, which you see a little bit in the Free Comic Book Day book, but that they have like a pretty brutal showdown. This is Ryan Ottley pulling out a lot of his Invincible fighting, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, without saying, this is definitely my pick of the week. I've got some ones that are also really, really good, but this is just, I'm so excited to see what they do with this Hulk. So there's also a bunch of variants, as you would imagine. So first we have the Bennett MCU variant. They're going to be doing these variants that are based on the different movies. So this one goes all the way back to the Ed Norton Hulk movie.
Movies have been reflecting the comics this whole time. Now it's time for the comics to reflect the movies a bit, at least on the covers.
Then we have the Jurgens variant, very classic Hulk there.
Turning a wall back into rubble.
It's what he does best. We have the slightly sweeter Peach Momoko cover. It's like a Hulk nighttime storybook.
Yeah, he's wishing on a star.
Yeah, and there's kind of subtle hints in a lot of these covers to what's coming up. Here's, of course, the blank sketch. But what's cool, and you can really see on here, this is a new Hulk logo that Ryan Ottley actually drew. So it's a whole new kind of header for that. It's really nice. I just saw him tweet about that. We've got the classic Hulk artist, Ed McGuinness, doing his take on this new look for Hulk. And then we have some of the incentives. So we have the 1 in 10 Otley design variant that we are selling to our customers for $10. We've got the Arthur Adams 1 in 50 cover, really nice, that we are selling to our customers for $30.
Showing off that beefy shoulder.
Yeah, he's real flexing for the camera. We have I probably should have put these in numerical order, but this is the 1 in 25 Bianchi variant that we are selling for $20. And that's it.
Okay.
I expected to keep pulling, but no, that was it.
Okay, so another big one from Marvel this week that I checked out is Hawkeye Kate Bishop #1. Just in time for the TV show. The TV show drops. When does it drop? Like tomorrow? It comes out.
So
yeah, I'm pretty sure it releases tomorrow or the next day. So that's really cool that they lined up the show with a new miniseries following Kate Bishop. So in this one, if you're not that familiar with Kate Bishop, it's going to catch you up pretty quick. Because it starts out with a really cool action scene where Kate gets to show off how she's how good of a fighter she is, how good of an archer she is, but also in her head she kind of catches us up with where she's at in her life, all during this battle. You know, it's the time to you're in the zone, so you're clearing your mind of all the stresses of the world. Some of her past teammates, including Cassie Lang and America Chavez, are actually trying to bug her to come do a reunion. And I think that's going to go somewhere eventually. I smell a Young Avengers reunion possibly after this miniseries, maybe even get its own series, which would be awesome.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where a lot of stuff's going.
We just had the America miniseries not that long ago.
Correct.
And yeah, cool.
So I think they're hinting at that at the beginning of this, because that's not where this is going. Actually, what Kate decides is she needs some time doing other things. So she takes a job. She gets a mysterious letter that invites her to this place in the Hamptons called Resort Chapeau. So it's this rich resort. They say they're having a problem. It's very mysterious. So she goes there just to do something different. She doesn't want to be in New York or LA, which, you know, if you read it, you'll find out why. She takes Pizza Dog with her, of course.
Good. Perfect.
And when she gets there, she's reunited with her sister for a certain reason. Her sister is named Susan. That is not her first appearance, though. Her sister actually appeared in Young Avengers #1 and hasn't been around pretty much since. So it's like a reintroduction with her sister. She doesn't really seem eye to eye with. You get to see some history between them, why they don't see eye to eye. You get to find out what the job is. There's some jewelry theft going on, but it's bigger than that. That's not the scope of it. And by the end, there seems to be more treachery going on, like a kidnapping. This chateau, let's just say it comes across as just filled to the brim with evil and intrigue is what she's walked into. And she sees it as a good challenge because it keeps her mind off of her other issues that she's trying to unravel. So I thought it was a good first issue. It was not in any way slow. Good introduction to Kate Bishop. So if you watch the show and you're interested, good jump on point. And I think it was designed for that. And I think that's very smart of them to bring the character to the forefront in this way.
Does Clint Hawkeye make an appearance?
No.
I think that's smart. Like, let her completely shine.
Yep.
As her own character.
She's definitely all by herself. She actually explains where all her friends are currently and why she doesn't necessarily want to be around them right now. So we have some cool variants. This is the Phil Noto variant. I like that one a lot. Here is the Todd Knock variant. Then we have, of course, the adorable Scotty Young variant with the pizza dog. And there is this 1 in 25 Balam variant for $25 is what we're selling it to our customers.
Awesome. So my next one is one that's not a #1. It's not even a #2. It's a #3. But it's one I feel like people need to constantly be reminded on why they should pick up this book. This is Deathstroke Inc. #3. With that great cover with Deathstroke riding a unicorn. And that is all actually in this book. He does actually ride a unicorn in this. So, to give you what the issue is about, we have Black Canary and Deathstroke who are working for this new anachronym thing in the DC Universe, like there are so many of. This one called Trust. We've seen them through the last few issues, along with Toyman, Hero, and we pick up on them apprehending the Queen of Fables. Now, if people have watched the Harley Quinn show, she was a character in that, and she kind of has the ability to, I don't know if she writes the stories, but she has a way of pulling people into like fairy tale stories. And apparently now she's offering that as a service to villains to help them get a little vacation. They can get out. Well, Deathstroke and Black Canary have been tasked with finding Cheetah, who they know is inside one of these stories. So they convince her, or Deathstroke basically just jumps into the books to go hunt Cheetah down, which is really cool. You see him, he gets there, he's got this full suit of armor, he's riding a unicorn.
That's where the unicorn comes in.
He's fighting these cat people. So you get a interesting, just like high fantasy thing. There's all these people running around being like, I've got a quest for you and stuff. It feels like you fell into a video game. On the other side, we have Black Canary, who is investigating Trust, the organization, because even though they're working for him, they had a moment in the previous issue where they kind of discussed, hey, you don't trust these people either, do you? Let's just keep working for them to find out what's up. Because even in this, we hear Black Canary talk to Oracle about, why are you doing this and everything. But the reason I want to bring this up is there is during her investigation, there is some pretty big revelations about this book and where it might be leading. There is multiversal things talked about. There is the return of a character, at least we see their suit, that goes all the way back to one of the big Crisis books. And of course, this is being written by Joshua Williamson, who is now kind of one of the spearheads of DC with their big event books. You know, he did Infinite Frontier, and he's doing the Justice League Incarnate coming up. He's got all these big plans. So if you want to know the big stuff going on in the DC universe, one, just follow whatever Joshua Williamson is writing. But also, check out Deathstroke Inc. On top of it being really, really fun, because there's also some stuff that Cheetah says, where Cheetah is also aware of trust. And she kind of laughs about it. It's like, oh, you fell in with them. You believed them. So, highly recommend Deathstroke Inc. It's probably one of my favorite DC books coming out now. You can see from there. It's crazy over the top, but actually has a lot of story that I feel like is really important to the DC universe underneath it. Also, it has this. Gosh, Mattina has a lot of covers this week. This Mattina variant.
Yeah, I read issue 1. Issue 1 was really good. I'm a little behind. I got to catch up because
Yeah.
right after Andy read that, he was telling me, he was like, "This book has a lot of important stuff in it."
Yeah.
Joshua Williamson, he's slipping in all the like upcoming big multiverse.
Yeah,
things
I had to like Wikipedia one of the characters, and I was like, oh, because it had a big thing. Their big appearance was in this big event book and stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Okay, so I read Joy Operations #1 from Dark Horse. This is the first Brian Michael Bendis Jinx World book at Dark Horse. On the cover here, we have the character Joy. So this is her first appearance. Bendis has been doing a lot of the rounds of talking about this book and telling people, hey, you know, a lot of my characters' first appearances end up mattering a lot. Here's your chance for one of them. So I read the book, of course. And the first thing I'll say is the first third of it, I was like, okay, this isn't bad. You know, the writing's solid. The art's really good. Writing very solid, but it didn't wow me for the first third. Then all of a sudden there's a twist, which, you know, we're a spoiler light show, so I can't tell you. But what I will say is if you start reading this book, there's a big twist about a third of the way through that will change your perspective. It almost made me want to go back and reread the first third and see it a different way, which is really good.
Yeah,
I like when a book
writing.
can do that. And it doesn't leave you a huge mystery of why that is either. The next 2/3 explains, okay, well, here's why you read it this way, and then you'll end up thinking of it another way. So who is Joy? She is a protector, also called an envoy. It's spelled en.voi. This book is set on Earth in the future. It doesn't really distinguish what year, but it's clearly the future. And these envoys are sort of protectors, bodyguards of the most powerful world leaders. But Joy's world leader, she's kind of a not nice person. She's kind of comes across, or it's explained, I don't know how reliable this is, but it's explained, she might be a bit of a villain, a bit of somebody who's secretly doing things that could disrupt the entire world. So how can Joy be convinced? What could convince her to go against her employer? That's sort of the question of the book. That gets answered in this issue in a very clever way that I cannot spoil. It has to do with that first third. I thought it was an excellent first issue. I highly recommend it. Really good writing, great art, a good twist, and a very good setup. So I think it's a really worthy indie book. And we have just one variant for this. This is the David Mack variant.
Bendis and David Mack are good friends, so it's always cool to see his art pop up on those books.
Yep.
Okay, my next one is, could be summed up pretty easily, but I'll go into it a little bit more. This is Good Boy #1. This one is by Garrett Gunn and Christina Blanche with art by Kit Wallace. And if you can't tell from the cover, that's a dog guy. So the easy summary of this book is it's John Wick but with a dog. Now, why it's like that is I remember you talking about the solicitation for this,
Yep.
and it kind of felt at first like, okay, this is a world where dogs and humans are equals.
Right.
I feel like it's a little bit more complicated than that. So our main dog, whose name is Flint, his owner gets killed by kind of a criminal organization. We don't know a whole lot about them, but it's funny because when Flint has flashbacks to him with his human, he's just a little dog. He's just a little normal dog. But when we read him in the book, he's like this anthropomorphic,
right,
Keanu Reeves dog. So I'm not sure about the kind of setup for this. Was there something that happened that changed it? Is this kind of the dog's interpretation of what's going on? Is he really this? I'm not sure, but this is a quick read, but not in a bad way. It's a quick read as in it's a lot of action. It's a lot of quick dialogue. And this is a dog who's straight up going for revenge, for vengeance because of what happened. You know, he swears at the grave of his human master. John.
Human, I guess.
What he's going to do, and he's going to hunt down these people, and thus commences his rampage. And it's actually very interesting. It's very well done. The art is very good. It's a little cartoony, but also when there's violence, it's pretty over the top. So I really liked it. If you're a fan of books like John Wick, or this new pet renaissance of books, it definitely falls in line with that cartoony dog, but over the top horror violence that is, I guess, a new genre that they're gonna have to think of a name for. So that is Good Boy #1, and we have a variant cover by Francavilla, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, reversed John Wick, where the dog has to go after the killers of the owner. I mean, that's just, I don't know. That gets me. I got to read the first issue at least of that. So I read Robin #8. This was a big one for those of you who are reading Robin. Okay, so of course Robin is doing the whole tournament, the whole Lazarus tournament, and last issue he had to kill someone who he really didn't want to kill. He had to take somebody out of the tournament to be one of the finalists. So this begins, Robin is one of the 2 finalists. Most of this is a panel by panel, just a knockdown, drag out fight. Panel by panel, knockdown, drag out fight. And everything comes out towards the last third of the issue, as far as what happens with the tournament entirely. What happens when you win the tournament? What is Mother Soul been up to? Why is the League of Shadows there? Why is Connor Hawke working with them? Everything is revealed by the end of this issue. So, I mean, it didn't leave almost any rock unturned. It, of course, ends on a cliffhanger, but so much is explained. It was a very satisfying issue to read. You also, of course, learn who the winner of the tournament is. There is a clear winner. It might not be who you expect. So a lot of twists and turns, a lot of revelations to Robin #8. Big, big issue. And it does have a variant. We are sold out of it, though. So.
Wow. I'm wondering about that because there has to be a winner, but the losers all pretty much have to die. So
well, not necessarily. How they started doing it in the previous issue is you could stop. And so if you get to your last life, you could keep going and die, or you can stop. Most people opt to stop.
Yeah, so, after those first 2 lives, you're like, I'm out.
Yeah.
But that's really exciting, and another great book by Joshua Williamson this week. He's really bringing some big stuff at DC. So my next book is a fun one for the holidays. This is Star Wars Life Day #1, just a one-shot. So Star Wars Life Day in the Star Wars universe was first appeared in the Star Wars Holiday Special, the one that George Lucas said that he wanted to hunt down and destroy every copy of. But it is a Wookiee holiday that celebrates the life and their trees and everything, and it's kind of spread out throughout the galaxy as being it's essentially Star Wars Christmas. But they don't have Christmas in that universe. And this one is has like the bookended stories. It is Han and Chewbacca on the run from some criminals, and then interspersed is stories of Life Day past. But what's interesting is, and for the big Star Wars fans out there, this the the story that's like the bookends that's woven around through it actually takes place in a time frame that we haven't seen anything. This is actually after Return of the Jedi, before Force Awakens, where Han has gotten the Falcon stolen, which we know he ends up getting back in Force Awakens. And even in a little moment where he's thinking about his family, there's a little Ben Solo where he's a kid. So this is a time frame we haven't seen really anything in. It is that kind of what's Han doing. It says he's like a former rebel hero because there's no need for it anymore. Really cool that they're starting to branch out into these sections that we haven't seen before. The stories are kind of, I don't think it's past, present, and future, but there is a High Republic story, which is really cool that, weaving High Republic into a book that also features Han. It's
Right.
kind of connecting those worlds. Then we have a story that's kind of a present one with Han and Chewbacca. And then we have another story with C-3PO. It's really fun. It's very lighthearted. It's all centered around the planet of Batu, which is the Disney park. When you go to, that's where the park takes place in. It's really fun. It's a great, just one-shot holiday story, but in the Star Wars universe. Really cool. Great Phil Noto cover on this one. We also have the Dursema variant. Those like blue orbs are kind of the symbol of Life Day. We have the Ratio, which is the 1 in 10 Sprouse variant, which has the Wookiees wearing their red cloaks that they wore in the holiday special. We are selling this to our customers for $25. And real quickly, also wanted to show off, this came out. This is the Star Wars Adventures Annual 2021. So this will probably be the last annual we get from IDW, because it was just announced that Dark Horse is going to be taking on a lot of the kind of ancillary Star Wars books like IDW had been doing. So this one is really cool, though, because Chip Zdarsky does a story in here. So it's a kind of oversized issue. We have the A cover, and we have the 1 in 10 Lou variant. We are selling for $20.
All right, so I read Black Panther #1. Yes, a new Black Panther series has begun. This one is written by John Ridley. We got Alex Ross doing the cover, of course. I think that most of you can recognize that. So this book really surprised me, and I quite enjoyed it. So it starts out in, your typical big battle. The Avengers and Black Panther are going up against this army of forces from who knows where. But that is just setup. That really is not the story. In fact, I later, after I finished the issue, I was like, why did they have that beginning? And I realized it did serve a purpose, but it wasn't like, oh, here's our villains.
Yeah.
It's more conversations and things that go on during it. The interesting part to this book is Black Panther has previously turned over Wakanda to pretty much a parliament. They now have a parliament of Wakanda. He's heading, into democracy rather than he's just the king and that's it. He's still the figurehead. He still has some power, but now there's this parliament. Well, let's just say he delivers his ideas on the limitations of democracy versus the limitations of what he had going before. And there is some revelations that T'Challa has been doing some secretive things that I was really surprised about. In fact, he has to go to Shuri because, of course, something's kind of blowing up in his face from these past operations. And he goes to Shuri and lets her know what's going on. And she is just as shocked as I think anybody reading as to what his ideas are and what he's doing. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just a different perspective than I've seen, and it kind of makes sense from somebody who's been a king and who I guess would do almost anything for his people, maybe even things that they wouldn't necessarily like. So check that out. It's pretty neat what he actually has going on. There are 2 first appearances in it, but I think only one might matter, and I can't tell you why because it reveals too much.
Yeah.
But out of the 2, I think one seems like a new character who's going to stick around. But it looks like you get sort of a glimpse at the end of where this storyline is going, and it looks like this is going to put him at odds with a lot of his friends, a lot of hero teams that he's friends with or possibly on. And if they find out what I found out when I read it, I could definitely see a lot of people being really angry at him over this. And it looks like it's also going to take him on a bit of a road trip where there's going to be more first character introductions. So that's, I think, the most I can say without giving too much away. We have some variants here. Here is the Romita Jr. variant. Here is the Scotty Young variant. And here is the Marvel Duel variant. I thought this was a really strong opening for a first issue. He had been doing all the space stuff.
Yeah.
And this takes it a whole different direction. Sort of like, hey, what did you do in the past? And a lot of good political intrigue and thinking and seeing where that goes.
Yeah. It's cool it's finally out because that was another book that was supposed to be out.
Delayed,
I want to say
and
months
delayed
ago.
and delayed.
So that's finally out, and man, you got Hulk and Black Panther in the same week.
Yep.
Okay, my next one is... Where is it? It is DC versus Vampires, #2. So this is the James Tynion, Matthew Rosenberg event, 12-issue event. And we learn in the first one that there has been a death in the vampire community. Basically, the leader of the vampires that kept everything at bay has died or been killed. And now what's left of the vampires are... there's rumblings that they are going to rise up and try and take over the earth. This is an out-of-continuity story, so there's some pretty shocking things that happen in it. And we saw in the first one that it has already gotten to Green Lantern. Green Lantern is a vampire. The rest of the Justice League do not know it. And this is a really cool issue because we also learned in the first one that Andrew Bennett, iVampire, before Green Lantern disposed of him, he managed to get a sample of the blood and everything and a note to Batman about this coming vampire war. And this issue is mostly Batman informing the rest of his family about what's coming. And it's really cool because you get all of their impressions about vampires. You find out how Batman, without them even knowing it, is testing to see if any of them are already vampires.
Of course.
We'll just say it's something in the tea. But it's really cool. It's cool to see what how he's already prepared for vampires. And of course his family thinks it's pretty cool. But also there is discussions, and I think it's really cool. I love just when the Bat family, because they are so good at what they do, actually just talk about stuff. And Batman basically comes to him and says, if you were to be a vampire, what would be your first thing you do? And of course Damian's like, I'd go kill these people or whatever. And Batman's like, what if you didn't kill them? What if you tried to turn them into vampires? Now who would you go after? And you get all the Bat family's ideas of other DC characters, if they were turned into vampires, what they would do, how it would affect their powers. A very cool conversation. It's one of the few Batman moments that I'm like reading a Batman conversation. I'm like, I don't want a bunch of action right here. I want to hear what they all have to say about this. There's also a funny way you find out how Batman tested Alfred to see if he was a vampire. But this also confirms who on the Justice League would be the most deadly vampire. And it may not be who you think it is. I know there's a couple that you'd be like, oh, for sure them. There's even a member that the vampire organization basically says you need to get rid of because they are so strong they would ruin it on our side too. So you need to eliminate them rather than change them. Really cool, great second issue, a lot of fun, a great kind of another what if tale. So that is DC versus Vampires #2. And we have the Matina variant.
So I haven't read this, so I can say, I mean, you know, everybody always thinks, oh, the strongest person, Superman. But Superman's powered by the sun. Vampires don't do so well in the sun. So once again, I haven't read this. I don't know if that comes up, but that's just the first thing I thought was that's a real handicap. Because even Green Lantern, he flies through space. Like, I guess you're going to have a green shield around you because that's stars everywhere.
They explain that he does have to have his kind of skin tight green shield that he's wearing.
Man, that's terrible.
But it's really cool. I love you know that James Tynion and Matthew Rosenberg are such good writers that they've accounted for. Well, what if this person was like? What would that mean? Rather than it just be like, oh, they'd be terrorizing people. It's like, no. Sometimes it's this with the vampire thing is not good. Right. It's not good for anybody. So yeah, definitely check it out. Very good issue.
So also from DC. One of my favorite reads of the week was Flash, issue 776. Now, this is not a spec issue. This isn't like a universe-changing issue. In fact, some people might even think this is a bit of a gimmicky issue, but I had a lot of fun reading it, and I will tell you why. So, in this issue, Flash is with Dr. Fate, and they're in a race against time to try to stop something to do with Darkseid. Okay? So, Dr. Fate breaks the fourth wall, and he talks directly to the reader. Okay?
This is even on news sites. I saw.
Oh, really?
Someone reporting on this issue.
I'm not surprised. I was like, oh my lord, Dr. Fate is talking to me as I read this. It goes further than that. So I won't spoil all. It goes further than that. But you, the reader, have to help him and Flash. And it's, you know, once again, I think some people might think it's gimmicky. I thought it was fun. I thought it was very clever. It's very simple, yet very clever. You've done Choose Your Own Adventures. It's not that. It's a bit more simple than that. You know, they only have so many pages to do this in. So I've seen things like it, but not exactly like it. And let's just say it's not just the story, but the whole art works around that and made it a very enjoyable and memorable issue for me. So I recommend it for sure. One of my favorite reads because of just the extras. Yeah. The extras put into it. It does have a variant. We're also sold out of that one. We had a lot of new people sign up for things with us lately.
So there was an issue that Grant Morrison did during Multiversity that I remember, Ultra Comics, where he had the character in the book mind control you. And he was like, you're gonna turn the page. You can't help it. And you're gonna turn the page. And it's like, what, am I going to just sit the book down and walk away? I got to turn the page.
Some stubborn person quit comics that day. Like, I don't get told
you're
what
not,
to do.
You're not going to tell me. So I love that. I love, like, let's work with our boundaries and see how we can stretch those.
Yeah, let me do a shout out. So the writer is Jeremy Adams. Mm-hmm. So good job on writing that, great. Mr. Adams.
This Flash run has been really great. And it's not been like, whoa, brand new characters.
It's been isolated in its own corner, just doing what it does well.
Yeah, and I think there's plenty of places in the comic world for books just doing what they do and doing it to the best of their abilities. So, my next one is the Gunslinger Spawn #2. Not a whole lot to say about this issue. I really like the first issue. I like this character of Gunslinger Spawn. He's funny because he's that classic man out of time. He is a Old West cowboy. We saw in the first one that he's run across this kid named Taylor, I believe, and come to find out that his family might be may be related to Gunslinger Spawn's family from the past, but there's dark dealings with this kid's dad and some angels and stuff. But this is pretty much an all-out action issue. It's really fun. It's really over the top. You find out what the worst thing you can do to an angel is, and Gunslinger Spawn, he's going to show you what that is in detail. Also, Gunslinger Spawn learns how indoor plumbing works. I'll just leave it at that. He is very confused by what the thing in the bathroom is, and the kid has to explain to him all about piping and where things go when you hit the flush. But it's really fun. It's really, I don't know, it's that kind of Spawn humor. Also, this is back to being a $2.99 issue, but the cover stock on it is like a card stock. So really, really nice that they're doing that. Really fun issue. I think in the next one, we're actually going to start seeing what the big story overall is going to be with this. This was kind of part 2 to the first issue. And we have the really nice Booth variant. Also, I talked about in the review for the first one that you learned what was in Spawn's hat, that it was a big old knife that he keeps in his hat. Well, in this one, he uses that big old knife. He reaches under his hat and pulls it out. So, confirmed, that's what he does.
I want to see the Gunslinger Spawn Crocodile Dundee crossover where they fight with their knives.
They just compare knives.
Yeah. Okay, so I read House of Slaughter #2. Yes, it is out as of tomorrow. So in this, Jace and Aaron are on a collision course where it's looking like they're going to have to battle. And that's in sort of the present time. Most of this goes back and it shows us their past. I mean, they are very close. Mm-hmm. They used to be very close friends. And you get to see why. Well, you know, one of my favorite things about House of Slaughter and Tynion's writing in this is I like all the ritual. Mm-hmm. And now that we have this second book, he gets to explore that more. So, for instance, in this one, there is a ritual called the Gathering of 1,000 Eyes. And it's all the different sections of House of Slaughter, all the different color masks, all gathering together. You get to find out what that's all about. And, of course, this is from the past. This is sort of the tale of when Jace joins House of Slaughter. He's leaving another house. So how does one leave a house and join another house? Well, of course, there's a whole ritual to that. And not boring either. It's not just some people doing some mumbo-jumbo words. I mean, it has a lot to do with their totems and battling monsters. You know, everything with House of Slaughter is sort of dangerous where, you know, you're either going to die or you're going to make it, but you're probably going to be scarred. But that's okay. Everyone you know is probably dead already, so you might as well be a part of the house. Yeah. So I like all the ritual in it. And there's another part outside the ritual. There's no more flashbacks between Jace and Aaron where a hand is extended in friendship. But, you know, nobody really comes to the House of Slaughter for friendship, so it doesn't really go that well. So the story of them and their collision course is being told bit by bit through these initial issues, and I kind of wonder how that's going to work out. It's causing the gravity of where they're at in the present to mean a lot more to see all these past things they've been through. So,
and you know, James Tynion was like writing Something's Killing the Children, but that book is kind of an outsider's view of what's going on. Right. This is inside of it. And he's like, I've had all these ideas. Now I can actually show you what that looks like inside the machine.
So yeah, another very strong issue from House of Slaughter. Here we have the variant. This is the Deladera. Deladera is doing the variant right there. Then we have a blank one. You can make your own. You can just stare at the white and imagine what you want. Then we have, let's see, which one is this? This is just the Virgin 1 in 25 Deladera that we are selling to our customers for $20. Then we have the 1 in 50 Koch variant.
That one's really nice if you really look at it.
Really mind-bending, that we're selling for $45. And lastly, we have the 1 per store virgin variant of the main cover for $25.
Awesome. So next is Amazing Spider-Man. This is number 79. Someone was mentioning yesterday, do you think they're doing this bi-weekly or 3 times a month thing to like catch up with Action Comics and stuff? It's like they're going to hit 1,000 before you know it with doing it so often.
Good point.
But the thing I like about this, some people may not like it, but doing it so often gives you kind of a decompressed storytelling where you actually have some issues to kind of breathe and discuss what's going on. Not saying it's boring, but it doesn't have to be just nonstop, one thing after another. And in this one, we're still learning more about the Beyond Corporation and kind of their mentality. We don't know a lot about why they're doing what they're doing, but Ben Reilly even kind of brings up to them, he's like, well, my number one job is to save the people of the city. Number 2 is to help Beyond Corporation. And they're like, those are actually tied for number 1 and stuff. So he's getting a kind of a weird sense about this corporation, like he didn't already from the beginning. Like
who would have thought big corporations might be bad?
Yeah. But it's kind of, they've really helped him out. They've got his love out of jail and put them up in a really fancy place. So they're kind of holding that over him a little bit. But also, he's kind of, he's pretty smart too, just like Peter Parker was. And he's made some modifications to his suit as well that you'll have to read to see because it's pretty cool. But we see more of he goes and visits Peter in the hospital, and you just get more of inside his head what he's feeling. But as you can see on the cover, Kraven is back, which it's funny, they don't mention anywhere in it that this is actually the son of Kraven, who looks just identical to his father, but we learned that in the previous run of Amazing Spider-Man. But Kraven has something as the original Kraven did too, he feels like he's maybe helping you. He's doing things to be like, it's kind of one of those like, I'm going to make you better at what you do. But by doing that, he may end up just killing you. But he has something that he's going to be doing that he's calling Ben Reilly's Awakening. And it seems like it's going to be leading to some pretty interesting things in the upcoming issues. So I still really enjoy this. This is actually, the artist on this was an artist on Black Cat for a while, which is really cool. And the writer is Cody Ziegler, who I think they're pretty new to writing comics, if I'm not mistaken from reading the letters column in the last one. So definitely another good issue. I've really enjoyed this new story and run on Amazing Spider-Man. We also have the Jurgens variant with Ben Reilly. And it's a really nice cover. This is the 1 in 25 Davila variant that we're selling for $30 with Kraven on there. I'm always tempted anytime Kraven's on something because after Kraven's last hunt, I'm like, I just like Kraven. He's just one of the best characters.
Yeah. So I read Death of Doctor Strange number 3. So in this, there is an autopsy on the body of Doctor Strange to try to find out what they can about how he died and who killed him. There are 2 people who conduct the autopsy, and if you pick this up and read it, it'll make complete sense. Like, it's 2 people. It's like, I read it, I'm like, yep, they're the 2 to do it. What they find is that, and this is what I like, it isn't just simply that he's dead. It's actually worse than that Doctor Strange is dead. There's a reason, you'll find out, that it's so much worse that it may make it where there can't be another Sorcerer Supreme. So now the question is, was he killed, because out of vengeance and anger, or maybe it's more for a purpose like that, leaving the world without a Sorcerer Supreme? or even a fill-in, like where somebody can't even fill in. So I really like that twist a lot. There's of course more to it. That's just the very sort of basic edge of it. And we get to learn more about the three mothers, the new major villains who just wiped the floor with the Avengers and acted like it was nothing, and their what's it called, their peregrine child, this child that they are feeding universes to, it seems like. So we get to learn more about them. And the last little thing is Doctor Strange, his body is missing some things. Where is the Eye of Agamotto and where is the Cloak of Levitation? They're missing. And so they begin a hunt for where they might be, and you do discover where they are, who has them, by the end of the issue.
I'm interested because I know Marvel teased just this last week that there's something about like the new Sorcerer Supreme coming up.
They've been saying that even before this started, and so even though now it's like, hey, there might be a problem, it'll probably get ironed out by the end.
But who's it going to be? I'm guessing this is going to maybe lead to that character, whoever it is.
I've got a few guesses, but this issue I wouldn't say really push my guesses more or less correct. So again, this does have a variant, maybe variants, but we're sold out of them. So
people just can't get enough.
We just had some sign-ups lately. People like our reviews.
So my next one is, skip ahead a little bit, Radiant Black. This is Radiant Black number, I always forget, this is 10.
Yep.
And I wanted to show this one off really quick because this is a big issue, one in the ongoing story, but also this is our A cover, and this is the issue that has the Blacklight variant. You can tell the difference. It's got the pink there. So if you read this issue, you'll understand why this all takes place in this kind of radiant, I forget what they call it, kind of mind sphere thing. But this book is thicker. The paper stock is a lot nicer, and it's not just the cover that's blacklight, it's every page in here has blacklight ink. And we held side by side and looked at them, and it is so much more vibrant. Really, really cool. So I believe it is, it's a bit more expensive. I think it's, what, $9.99 for the blacklight variant?
That sounds about right.
So just wanted to show that off really quick. I feel like people should be picking this up because we know there's a crossover coming with Radiant Black next year.
I need to buy one of those and sneak it into my favorite Blacklight mini golf course. just read it there.
Yeah.
Because you need it all around you to really appreciate.
Then we have the Monty variant for that. And we also have the Shalvey variant. This is the 1 in 25 that we are selling for $25. But only that one cover is the Blacklight, and you can tell it has this little, not a sticker, but little note on the cover that says it's the Blacklight one.
Okay, so I read Detective Comics issue 1045. This issue opens up with a little asterisk saying that it happens at the same time as Batman issue 113, which really confused me because issue 113, that's 4 issues back at this point.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
And I didn't really, I mean, that's great that they are trying to make sure the timeline makes sense, but I didn't really see where it figured in. So you people who have good critical reading skills, see what you think on that. But I didn't see where it figured in. So Batman is in the sewers with Mayor Nakano. And of course, the parasites from back before, they're back. In fact, in this issue, you'll see sort of the mother of all of them. And Batman and Nakano have to team up to help each other and ultimately try to defeat this creature. So all that's interesting, but I will say by the end of it, I kind of said this with my last review of the previous Detective Comics, things don't seem to be headed towards future state, where Batman's gone and the mayor's given all the control to the magistrate. I'm just not seeing that yet. But we still haven't seen Batman Fear State Omega.
Yeah.
That may flip everything back. But give this a read and see what you all think as far as how this figures in with Fear State and with Future State. Now, the backup story is about the construction of Arkham Tower. I was really interested in this. I thought the backup story was really cool. You get Batman's thoughts on Arkham. Should it be there? Should it not? This new tower, is it a good idea? Meanwhile, there are other people who are for it, against it. Some people in this issue might be trying to destroy it before it even gets built. And it ends with a surprise character popping in, offering help to Batman that he doesn't necessarily want, but may have to accept anyway. So I can't wait. There's going to be a 12-issue arc all about this Arkham Tower coming up. And these backup stories are the precursor, setting it up. And I'm really looking forward to it.
I think that's going to be really cool.
Like all the Parasite stuff with Hugh Vile, it's neat, but it feels like it is finally wound down. This idea of a Arkham Tower, that compels me more.
Yeah.
And the variant, there is a Bermejo variant. We'll show you the local comic shop day one at the end of the show with all the rest of the local comic shop day stuff.
So my next one is issue number 2 of Taskforce Z. It's funny that DC vs. Vampires and Taskforce Z, number 1 came out on the same day, number 2 comes out on the same day. And not that they're similar, but they're like...
DC horror.
Yeah, DC horror. One's vampires, one is kind of pseudo-zombies. They even mention in this the villains that have been brought back with the Lazarus resin. The only way they're staying down is if you destroy the head. It's like, oh, like a zombie. Yeah. But this is a good issue. It's still kind of setting up this organization who are bringing back these villains. I don't feel like we still know why they're doing it. They seem to be doing good things. Like in this one, they go after the Cobra Cult or whatever their names are. They're kind of big DC crime group. And they seem like they're, using the Task Force Z for good. Of course, Red Hood still has some questions on, why are you doing this? He's very hesitant to be a part of this. But the big thing to note about this is it has I don't want to say first appearance, because issue 1 had the first appearance of Hannah, who was a character that we just saw briefly. Red Hood walked basically through her room and was like, hey, what's the deal with her? Why is she in like maximum security? And they're like, oh, don't worry about that. We find out why that was a thing, and when she goes on missions, how does she combat the opponents? So it is the first appearance of her, we'll say, alter ego, and we get a name for that character and everything in this one. So not sure what they're going to do with the character, not sure how long it's going to be around, but that is the thing to know about this. Also, they get a new team member on Task Force Z, and if you know what the other members are, how maybe they are recently deceased, you can maybe guess at what character may join the team next. So this one, another one that we are all sold out of the variants. But that is Task Force Z number 2.
Okay, I read the latest series from Jim Mahfoot, Girl Scout Stone Ghost number 1. So previously, Jim Mahfoot has done, of course, Girl Scouts and Girl Scouts Magic Socks. He is the creator of this. He's the writer of it. He's the illustrator of it. It doesn't get much more indie than this book. This feels like an underground, punk rock, do whatever you want sort of title, within certain boundaries of morality and taste. But he even stretches those when he feels like it, which is really cool. You just don't know what to expect from this book. So if you haven't read the previous series, it's fine. This issue 1 barely harkens back to them, except that the characters were in the previous things. They're not just like all talking about their previous stuff too much. You get to follow the main character you see on there is Dio. There's also Turtleneck Jones, who is a very tough individual, and Gordy, who they all hang out with. In this series, they're going up against a new evil force, somebody called the Teeth. I'm not sure if it's a person or a whole group. Yeah, that hasn't been revealed, but I will say this is a sort of book where he does a comic within a comic when he feels like it. The people in this book like comics, so they'll be looking at a comic and you see that. People will tell you a story, and the art will change to reflect the story they're telling. It's just really cool. It's really good. If you like indie weird stuff, this is for you. In fact, he describes it in the book as the world's best-selling psychedelic comic experience.
Wow.
That's how he describes his own book in this. So we have this one variant. This is the 1 in 25 Momoko variant that we're selling for $40. And I've been reading this is a pretty hot variant this week.
Yeah, if people don't know Jim Mafood's art, look it up, because it's, like you said, it's hard to describe it. It's punk, but it's also like what the bottom of like skateboards, like art that they would do on that. It is jagged and crazy and
jagged, scratchy,
energetic. You know, it's kind of vibrating with the shapes and everything. It's really cool though, very indie, but it's cool that, you know, an artist like that can do a comic and it works, because I mean you would see that and never think that that would
a true unified vision when somebody is doing the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, well, my next one is, let's see, kind of doing these as a double feature. So first off is X-Men. This is X-Men number 5. And what I really want to say about this is, one, it does do a pretty cool flashback to the Hellfire Gala event and the selection event that happened about who is going to be on the team. You know, it was done as a vote, but a psychic vote that people kind of threw their names in the hat mentally, and Jean Grey heard all of them, and they made the decision that way. It even shows you the scene where Doctor Strange was the only one there who was like tapping into it. He's like, this stuff is crazy and everything. And you find out Polaris, who was the write-in character, the one that people could actually vote on who they wanted to be the final member of this new X-Men team. A little bit more about her selection process, and did she get selected or was she placed there? There's some pretty, some more questionable things about the X-Men that you're like, are they really good at this point, or are they doing things to their own means and ends? It's very interesting. But the other thing I want to say is they are, some places are mentioning that this is the first full appearance of Dr. Stasis. That's the character you see on the cover. I will say, I think that is going to be rewritten later to say it's another cameo of Dr. Stasis. To say he appears in it is kind of giving him too much credit. There's literally like a shadow over him completely, with this helmet sitting on a table, and he's on the cover right here.
Which first cover appearance, but that's different than first full appearance.
Right. I feel like you're talking about first appearance, you're seeing the full body of the character, you're getting a full sense of them, they say things, they interact with the story. That is not in this. So I think we're going to be seeing the actual first appearance maybe in the next issue, could even be the issue after that. This is kind of a long-term villain, it feels like, for the X-Men. The other book I want to show is X-Force Killshot number 1. This is actually just a one-shot comic celebrating the anniversary of X-Force. This is by Rob Liefeld. He did the story and all the art, but it's plotted or scripted by Chad Bowers, who he's worked with on several other projects like Major X and the relaunch of Youngbloods from a few years ago. So they've worked together before. But this just oozes Rob Liefeld. This is a book about they're putting together an X-Force team from different dimensions to all finally take out Strife for the last time, who is, of course, a big villain back in the X-Force days. And you see all these different universes, versions of the X-Force. So, of course, one is like regular Cable. The next one is like really big beard Cable. You have one where Major X is red. The next one he's yellow. So you could consider them first appearances. I feel like they're more just kind of goofy nods to what they would look like in different universes. You do get quite a bit with Venompool, which is kind of a character we haven't seen a whole lot of, but he plays a pretty big role in this. But overall, this is kind of just a celebration of that very 90s X-Force era. This could be leading somewhere. You know, they kind of put together this multiversal team of X-Force. We'll see if that goes anywhere, if it's ever picked up on again. But if you're a fan of that and that kind of nostalgic X-Men time frame, this is a good issue. We also have one of the variants here. I think there's quite a few variants, but this is the only one I had on hand because these actually... You want to talk about that now or later about how these these books are working? But this is the J. Scott Campbell Domino variant.
So real quick, there are 3 books this week we're showing off. It's Hawkeye, it's X-Men #5, and X-Force Killshot.
Yep.
Where depending on where your store ordered it, they might not be getting it till next week. So Marvel books are now distributed by both Penguin Random House and Diamond. Penguin got theirs out to where stores have it. We have it. They haven't changed their on sale date. On our invoices said we could sell it tomorrow, so that's what we're doing. Diamond, on the other hand, said theirs aren't going to be there till next week and that their sale date is next week. So if you're wondering why we're showing you comics and maybe your store doesn't have them, it might be because they ordered from Diamond. Just give it a week. They'll have it then.
Right.
So that's Hawkeye, X-Men 5, and X-Force Killshot. That's the only 3.
Yeah.
Everything else should be the same. So I read Thor issue 19. This is God of Hammers part 1. So in previous issues of Thor, his hammer wasn't working well for him. Other people were able to pick it up who shouldn't be able to pick it up. So he gave the hammer to the Avengers to protect while he tried to figure things out. Well, the hammer has gone missing. So lately, Thor has gone to Throg and put him as his master spy and sent him on a mission with other super-powered pets to try to secretly figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, Thor is launching his own investigation, and that's who we go with in this issue. As much as I wanted to go with the the pets, it was sticking with Thor. I guess we'll get to them next issue. A lot still does happen, though. So Thor relates that there's a prophecy he's been reading about saying the God of Hammers is coming and is going to kill the king of Asgard. Well, that has some concern because he's the king of Asgard. And so Thor ends up in this issue. He has to team up with somebody he really doesn't want to have to team up with, somebody he kind of hates. No, it's not Loki. I know everyone's mind goes there, and it's almost like I give a spoiler, so I just have to say it's not Loki. It's somebody different. To try to track down who stole the hammer. They end up going to where the hammer was originally forged for some reason, where they come across a scene of massive death. But the interesting part is, what was the instrument of all that destruction? So that's my teaser to the issue. Let you know what it's about, some of the things to expect. We have... I expect, hopefully, this is all starting to head towards that scene we saw of a certain person holding the hammer with the stones. But I don't know if it's going to get there just in this arc. I think this might start setting that up. So we have some variants. This is the Azrael variant. And then we have the 1 in 25 Frank variant we're selling to our clients for $30. And then we have, this is the Marvel Studios Infinity Saga variant. As Andy said, they're doing sort of movie scenes for variants now.
And one I'm just going to mention because I really wanted to read it, but there were so many things to read. I kind of ran out of time. So this is Aquaman Green Arrow Deep Target #2. I really liked issue #1 of this. I'm excited to read this. Kind of the what happened in this world where Aquaman and Green Arrow got flip-flopped, and now Oliver Queen is the king of Atlantis, and Aquaman can't breathe underwater and has to use a bow and arrow and everything. And there's a big villain in this that was teased in the last issue, and I'm interested to actually read it and see if they explain who he is and everything. But yep, number 2 is out, so check that out. And it has a variant, but that's another one we are out of.
So a finale I just had to read, a series I just couldn't put down.
This is what everybody's been waiting for right here.
Some for the right reasons, mostly for the wrong reasons. Batman Reptilian number 6, the last issue has landed, and it's more of the same. That Batman who is not the Batman you've seen in other things. Very disturbing. You know, in this issue, Batman, he proves his point that he doesn't kill. You know, even this Batman, as depraved as I've made him out to be in my other reviews, he doesn't kill. But Garth Ennis might have found a workaround to that particular limitation that he addresses in this. You know, I don't kill, but wait till you see the end of that sentence. Not just hear it, but see it enacted. Batman also sends one of his enemies on a trip to be dissected, possibly to death or forever, and he thinks it's funny and he thinks it's fitting. And in Garth Ennis' world, maybe it is. I don't know. No other Batman book would he do this, though. It also ends on a possible sequel idea that promises to be just as disturbing. So I don't know how many other people were fascinated to read this to where maybe there'll even be a sequel. We'll just have to see. The whole thing was painted, though, I have to say. Really impressed with all the art and really creepy art.
Yeah,
so, you know, there's it's
Liam Sharp. Like he definitely went all out on this.
Yeah,
for the art.
So that's the end of Batman Reptilian.
I know you're sad to see it go. You want to see more of Batman taunting his villains and making fun of them
every single time, and you know the art was just really cool.
Okay, so my one I also wanted to show off because this one I didn't get a chance to read, but I read the previous series. This is Miskatonic. And this one is Even Death May Die. This is as you can see, a magazine-sized one-shot that is a follow-up to the series that ended a few months ago. And it basically just takes the Lovecraft mythos and kind of works them all into one world where all of these things kind of exist. And we have our investigator, very classic Lovecraftian. And this is, if you read the previous one, you'll want to pick this up as kind of a follow-up story. So, just the one shot here, and I believe it is $6.99 for this one.
So one I wanted to quickly mention is Iron Man number 14. So check out that Alex Ross cover. This is first appearance of Cosmic Iron Man. A lot of places are calling him Iron God. So that does happen in the book. You don't really get to see a lot of him in this form, though. A lot of it is just sort of more in his head and what he's thinking about when he takes on this power cosmic that was taken from Galactus's base. So I just know this has been making some news. Wanted to tell people that this is a first appearance. Or I guess not first appearance, but you know, first time he gets these powers. Yeah. I don't think it's going to play out past this story, though. So I personally, and I could be wrong, don't think that it's one that needs to be spec'd on very highly. But I thought I'd make sure everybody knew that this is out in case you just like to grab all that stuff. And here is the variant. This is the Infinity Saga variant for that issue.
Okay, and my final thing to go over is these other printings of Superman Son of Kal-El. So we have the, what is this? The third printing of number 1, along with,
I think the rest are just second.
I think the rest are second printings. Yeah, second printing of number 2. We have 3 and number 4, which catches us up to number 5, which came out, I believe, last week.
Yep, number 5, big sensation.
Yep.
So DC was smart enough to get these rushed out as fast as they can. So now you can have the full set.
Yep.
If you didn't have them before, because if your store is anything like us, once number 5 was announced, all the 1s through 4s we had on the shelves have vanished.
Yes. So these are good reads. You can tell they're the variants because the backgrounds are black and white or blue, and just the red and Superman is there. So that's how you tell. And yeah, great to pick up because good luck finding the first printings.
Okay, so before we get to the local comic shop day stuff, which we're just going to show really quickly, I wanted to show that this Barbarella issue number 5 is out tomorrow. It has a TMNT homage cover. Dynamite is doing this with a lot of their books. There are 2 of them this week, so I'll show you the other one in a moment. I know a lot of people are picking up all of these. Then here's the same book. This is their 1 in 10 initially. They call it 1 in 11. Black and white variant. We are selling to our customers for $15. The other book that has the homage is Invincible Red Sonja number 6. I mean, sometimes it's just fun to collect a series of things. And
Yeah.
It's like TMNT number 1 homage covers. That's just kind of fun. And of course, that also has a 1 in 10 that we're selling to our customers for $15. All right, so we've divided up the local comic shop day books, and we're going to show them off one at a time.
Yes.
Real quick. Some of these are so shimmery, it may be hard to see, but we'll still tell you what they are.
Yeah. So to begin with, this is the DC versus Vampires number 2. Looks just like the variant, the regular variant, but this time it is chrome or foil or whatever you want to call it.
And that's the Matina did that.
The Matina cover, yeah. And check with your store about prices for these. Mm-hmm. That's a big thing. Is it's not name your price, but these did cost more for the stores, so they'll be priced up a little bit more than your regular variants.
Here's one a lot of people have been waiting for. Here is Radio Apocalypse number 1, the foil local comic shop day variant. It's also virgin. No trade dress on it. I'm trying to show how it shimmers. It looks really nice in person. So that's another one that is available as of tomorrow.
Next up is Friday by Ed Brubaker. Now this was released as a graphic novel, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. But this even says like special collector's issue, local comic shop day special. So that is Friday by Ed Brubaker, number 1.
Then we have, I promised I'd show it later. This is Detective Comics 1045. This is the Bermejo variant, but this is the foil local comic shop day version, which is really hard to show because of how shimmery it is. The darker you make it, the more shimmery it is in foil, and Bermejo, he likes his dark colors. So it looks very cool in person.
Next up is from Boom. This is Magic Master of Metal in the Magic the Gathering universe. It's a new miniseries that's starting. But this is the number 1. It's the black and white local comic shop day variant.
Here is Joy Operations number 1, which I went over earlier today, the new book by Bendis. So it has its local comic shop day variant. Who knows how many stores ordered? So this might be the one to hold on to in case this goes anywhere, gets optioned, gets bigger. But yes, Joy Operations.
Next up is... it's a big one. Probably one of the most requested.
Yes.
This is House of Slaughter, number 1 local comic shop day variant, which is the Jay Lee cover that was a incentive, I believe.
So, yeah.
But this time in black and white.
I think that was the 1 in 10.
Yeah, so great one to pick up.
There's also a local comic shop day cover for Girl Scouts, Stone Ghost. So there is this one.
Actually, I had to look this one up because I couldn't remember what issue this was. I saw the number. I was like, what happened in this one? This is Walking Dead Deluxe, number 27. And you see the foil on this one is on the knife and on the title.
With a knife like that, he could join forces with Gunslinger Spawn and Crocodile Dundee.
Yes, the knife bros.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a big one during the prison story arc.
And then this is concerning Oswald's body. I think I may be getting the title a little off. And I read it too. I really liked the first issue. But so this is a local comic shop day. Without the trade dress, I am at a loss. It is regarding the matters of Oswald's body. I knew I generally had it.
What's up with Oswald and his whole body?
So that is also Do we have any others?
That's all I got.
Okay, so that's all the local comic shop day books that are available starting tomorrow. So that's our show. So much to go through. We tried to hurry it up. We tried to speed through a lot of it while still getting the good info out there so you know what to pick up, especially in a big week like this week. I mean, you don't have unlimitless funds, so you got to know which comics to put on your A-list, your must-have list.
Well, sometimes it's hard going to a store and you see the whole wall and it's like, am I missing anything? We pretty much covered almost everything that came out here.
I can see a lot of people just breezing past Joy Operations because it's like, well, I don't pick up Dark Horse, currently. Yeah. They don't know it's a Bendis book. They don't know it's Jinx World. They don't know its first appearance.
Yeah.
And had they known that, thus our show. So thanks for joining us. We hope we have done our job and that you enjoyed yourself. And if we have been helpful and you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe. Every little bit helps us grow the channel. And we will see you on Friday with Comics from the Future. Don't forget to stop by your comic store tomorrow because tomorrow is local comic shop day.
Yes.
I know it's a busy week with Thanksgiving preparations and all, but you're going to need those comics to read after all that food settles.
Yeah.
You're going to need something to do.
To wipe your mouth with.
Not that, but you're sedentary. You don't want to go anywhere. Just lay back and read comics. So thanks, and we'll see you this Friday.